The topic of the week, at least in terms of um, Linda and my own talks, and perhaps others, is called being guided, being receptive, and guiding oneself. And we're conjecturing that perhaps this is a developmental process. Of course, whenever we talk about a developmental process, not everyone moves through the same developmental stages in the same order or anything like that, but it's a general map. So many of us, myself included, started out in the world of meditation with guided meditation. That is, some kind of outside authority, an expert in meditation, guides us into what can be perceived as unknown territory. Now, this always used to be a person back in the day, but now it can be an app. But it's sort of the same principles, that it's somebody from the outside guiding us to our interior world. And this is commonly how people enter into the practice of meditation. And we're used to this. We're used to looking outside to learn. That's how it works in our educational system for the most part. And our inner world really can be perceived as or seem like a scary place. It can seem like it's filled with our fears and our obsessions and our anger, our self-hatred. I'm sure the list goes on and on. You name it. And, we might want a guided meditation that takes us somewhere else altogether, that kind of avoids all this pain and hurt. Though a principle of mindfulness is to move towards it, often the instructions guide us away from it. Or maybe we just don't even know what to do in meditation. We need someone else to show us the way. Or then again, maybe we have these really high and idealistic ideas of what is possible in meditation, and we want an authority to guide us there. We may not have it fully formed what it might possibly be, but we hope it might be like maybe even ecstatic or fully awakened or well, you name it. So actually, for decades, I guided meditation, and I assumed a kind of special kind of voice, not the voice that I did in my daily life, but slow and soft and maybe almost tender, like when you notice your mind wandering, just gently, ever so gently, bring it back to the breath. And so it was almost, as I think back on it, it was almost like I was acting a part. And I was acting the part that I'd heard others act. I don't know if they felt like they were acting a part, but what I heard when others' authorities guided us. And I also followed a script, often the very script that I was taught, though it wasn't called a script back then. It was called This Is How You Meditate. And that was all I knew. And it was actually very helpful. It really did help me. I often used to say, I don't know who I would be when I was growing up without it. Though I just must confess that when I assumed this especially kind and gentle voice, I think I might have fooled myself into believing that this was who I really was. And actually, it felt real good. And, as I was writing this Dharma talk, I wondered, and this is just a wondering, this is certainly not a for sure by a long stretch, but could this be one of the conditions that leads to this rampant abusive behavior of meditation teachers? And not only, but though especially the power over others that is inherent in being their guide, but maybe also I was just picking up on a kind of narcissism, grandiosity, maybe is a better word, that develops internally as we assume the role of the kind, wise meditation guide. Then we, and I'm using the plural pronoun because here we all are together, however we got here this morning to this daily online. But then we discovered reflective meditation. And for many of us before that, it was recollective awareness meditation. And again, I use that plural pronoun because in a few minutes, we're going to be doing just that, meditating without guidance. meditating on our own. And so when we encountered this alternative, let's say, way of meditating, we were encouraged to learn to allow things to go on as they are, to be more receptive. And the words in the instructions that describe this are: let your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and attention move around. Whatever arises in meditation is okay. Nothing is inherently taboo. Let your attention go where it is drawn. This might not feel like meditation, though consider that this is a different kind of meditation with different benefits. So we don't use the word receptive, but that's really the description of receptivity. So in those words, we suggest that you turn inward rather than outward to a meditation instructor or a meditation script. Though we also do give you permission to do that. If there's a script or another practice that feels best for you, we say you're welcome to do that. Although that's still using your inner guidance, right? So, but if we are as we are more receptive over time, hopefully we begin to trust that we can allow things to go on as they are, that it is safe and reliable. And perhaps for some people it isn't safe and reliable, and they turn to another meditation practice. And I think that's really good. But for the rest of us who find out that this is safe and reliable, we find out we actually don't get too lost or too caught in awfulness, whatever version we fear or we experience. We also learn over time that beneficial states of mind and thought trains do arise. Now, the instructions in reflective meditation, right there in the initial instructions, suggest that there are times when we need to guide ourselves. And this is how we describe it on the instructions on our websites. And we often say the very same words to people when they're new joining us here at the Daily Online. At times, you may want to ground your attention, especially if things become chaotic or overwhelming. You need not stay for long, though sometimes you will settle for a while. I was exploring the websites this morning and I saw that Sati Sangha sort of changed it a little bit on their website, and they characterize this quality as care, learning to care for oneself in meditation. I really like that. So sometimes this inner guidance may be subtle, barely, or maybe not at all perceptible. At other times, it might be quite intentional. What's important here is not whether it's subtle or more intentional, but whether that we are becoming our own guides, that we learn we are as reliable as outside authority, that we won't go into depths in unmanageable ways, but instead, depths will be revealed in manageable chunks, and we can redirect when it's just too much. Over time, we become more reliable than outside guides because we know best what we need, and we know best when we need it. Of course, along the way, we need to cultivate a kind and gentle voice. That inner voice that I think many of us are familiar with, I certainly am, that is harsh or punitive, gets slowly worn away, like rocks in a riverbed that smooth out, lose their sharp edges. And I'm not sure how that develops in reflective meditation, though I've watched it develop for so many of us. Does it develop through the kindness of our teachers and our other Sangha members? There's a lot of kindness in this group and in all our groups. Or maybe from picking up, either with awareness or more subtly, that judgment is pretty much absent in the interviews and discussions. And this is intentional. We set up an environment where it is safer externally. We've given a lot of thought to that. And trust, we really do, I do, deeply trust that you can develop a safe inner environment. No, I'm not sure of all the conditions that support this. You'd know better. what supports a safe inner environment for you. So I am going to end the talk there.